Not all men, but always a man. Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of my thoughts. Over the years, and even now, whenever rape cases surface online, the conversation quickly turns into a gender war. You start saying phrases like guilty until proven innocent, or not all men, but always a man. And when you question these statements, people often say they are harmless, or it's not that deep. But I think that's exactly the problem, because we should be able to pursue justice without creating new problems in the process. From what I observed, these statements didn't just appear out of nowhere. They started as personal reactions from victims, survivors, and even people trying to make sense of what they see. And that part is understandable because when something like this happens, people react from pain, from fear, from anger, and those reactions are real. But even real emotions can lead to conclusions that don't always help us solve the problem. And let me say this clearly, no one deserves to be raped, not because of how they're dressed, not because of the choices they've made, and not even because of the kind of life they live. There is no justification for that. And any mindset that tries to explain it, excuse it, or normalize it should be confronted, challenged, and rejected by both men and women. Because if we don't draw that line clearly, then we're not just dealing with a crime. We're allowing dangerous thinking to exist unchecked. But somewhere along the line, the reason why statements like not all men, but always a man gain so much traction got misunderstood. Some people believe it's simply because men are naturally harmful, or because people weren't raised properly. But I don't think that's a full picture. I think these ideas grow stronger because the systems meant to uncover the truth and deliver justice have failed people too many times. Cases go unresolved, victims don't get closure, accountability feels inconsistent, and when that keeps happening, people stop trusting the system and start relying on assumptions. And every time we turn these conversations into a gender war, we lose focus because the more we center the conversation there, the less we question the systems that are actually responsible for protection and justice. And that matters because in a functioning society, justice shouldn't depend on emotions, trends, or who is louder online. It should depend on systems that actually work consistently and fairly. Let me be clear. Yes, people should do better. Parents should raise better. Society should guide better. Values matter. But that's only the foundation. Because the truth is this. We don't control how everyone was raised. We didn't raise those people. We don't know them personally. We don't know what was done or not done behind the scenes. So why personal responsibility matters? It cannot replace institutional responsibility. What is within our control is demanding that the systems meant to protect us actually do their job. Proper investigations, fair trials, and real consequences. I recently saw someone suggest that we should organize programs to teach men to respect women. And on the surface, that sounds right. Because yes, respect should be taught, values should be taught. But let's think about it for a second. Are we now in a position where we have to convince people not to do what they already know is wrong? Because we don't organize programs to teach armed robbers not to steal or bandits not to kill. They already know. So the issue is not always a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of consequences. And when we shift the focus only to teaching people to behave better, we risk ignoring the bigger problem. Systems that fail to detect, prevent, and punish these crimes effectively. Education matters, yes, but without accountability, it becomes incomplete. Because a functioning society should not depend on convincing people to act right. It should ensure that when people act wrong, there are real consequences. And there's another side to this. When these narratives keep repeating, they don't just distract us, they shape how we begin to see people. Over time, they turn caution into assumption, and assumption into judgment. Now everyone becomes a suspect. Everyone fits into a stereotype. And we've seen it happen. A man starts to see every woman as a gold digger because of past experience or popular narratives. Entire group gets labeled as criminals before anything is proven. Police officers are seen only as oppressors without acknowledging individual differences. And sometimes, people are judged simply because of where they are from or what they represent. And in many of these situations, people don't pause. They don't ask questions. They don't wait for facts. They react first and think later. Yes, some of these cases are real, and they should never be ignored. But reality should make us more aware and not more careless with our judgments. Because when assumptions replace evidence, we don't just risk being wrong. We create an environment where even false accusations can thrive and innocent people can be wrongly judged. And this brings me to another important point. The recent incident in Uzoro highlights something clearly. We need to draw a firm line between the law and tradition or religion because we've seen situations where harmful actions are hidden under the cover of culture or belief. And when that happens, it gives room for people to justify what should not be justified. It's the same pattern we've seen in cases where adults try to defend marrying minors, even when the legal system clearly sets a minimum age. So the issue is not culture or religion itself. The issue is when they are used to override the law. Because once that happens, accountability becomes optional, and a society cannot function like that. For a society to function properly, we have to let go of these narratives and phrases. Not because the pain isn't real, it is. Not because justice isn't necessary, it is. But because generalizing does not bring justice. What brings justice is accountability from the systems meant to protect us. Because a criminal is a criminal. And the law should treat them as such, regardless of tribe, religion, gender, social class, or background. Justice should not be emotional. It should be factual, consistent, and fair. And I believe we can pursue justice without creating more chaos, more assumptions, or more distractions.